Paul didn't come, so I thought I had extra time, but actually Mike took extra time and Wes will probably take extra time, so I'm going to try to still keep you guys on time. Well, thank you for inviting me to speak today, but thank the Auditors Association who puts in so much work getting this on. And Pauline, it's so good to have you here with us today. I want to say to everybody, my name is Tera Klutz. I used to be the Allen County Auditor. And especially to my group, my class that has served, either 4 or 8 years, and this is your last year. Wow, it has been a long run. You think of 4 DLGF commissioners, 4 state auditors, gateway, numerous property tax law changes, and also budget changes and the like. And so I just want to say it's with a tear in my eye that you're going out. But at the same time, for you and anybody on the ballot who may have an unexpected loss, there's a much more important task at hand and probably could be your legacy, and that is finishing strong. And I'm not talking about December settlement. I'm talking about the importance of making sure that you transition so well that the employees will get a paycheck in January, or that your tax units can count on those tax distributions, because whether it's your somebody who's your best friend in the office taking over for you, or is your arch nemesis, it's your responsibility to make sure you transition well, because everybody is planning on it and everybody is counting on you to do it. And so I'm on the ballot next month too. For the first time statewide, there's a great chance that I won't be here in January, and I commit to do the same thing, because you guys rely on the state auditor's office for information and for us to keep running. So you can just imagine the same thing applies to you guys. And so with that, I just want to say thank you to my class, farewell, and it's been a pleasure working with you, and who knows, this may be my end too. But that's what democracy is about. So I haven't started yet, so that didn't count on my time, Mike. All right. No, I'm kidding. All right, I'll hit the button. It's really, multitasking is not a real thing. So first of all, I need to get my presentation so that it's the full screen view. It's hard to do. Well, I'm going to talk about transparency really quick, but then I'm going to talk about something really sexy. And if you're uncomfortable, I am too, actually, because I'm going to talk about workplace harassment and sexual harassment. But still, even saying that word, gives me heightened awareness. But why not? I mean, I'm a manager, you're a manager. We all work in an environment that it's becoming a very controversial and regular topic of contest. So why not have, at an accounting auditor conference, talk about this stuff? So we're going to go ahead and do that. First, I just want to say, let's see if I can get this going. Transparency. I can't get up here and not talk about how we have a responsibility to provide transparency. Can you hear me better? I'm sorry about that. Transparency is a state of mind. If you don't have it, you need to get it for your job, especially as the chief financial officer of the county that you work for. Everything that we do is public information unless it's personally identifiable information. So just plan on making it your goal to, if anybody comes into your office to ask for anything, act like you want to give it to them even if you don't, because if you act like it, you're building trust. And so that was my 2 cents. I mean, I've got a lot to say about that, but, and it's not just necessarily putting information on the websites, because even if we put all of it, there's still more that they want. And so they never can quite get enough, but I think it's about your attitude on getting it to them. And so I wanted to say that. And then we're gonna move to preventing workplace harassment. We're gonna go through this really quick, but I think it's important to talk about, because I don't know how many of you guys have standalone policies. The state just adopted theirs. It's either in your handbook or maybe a separate standalone. Are there any counties that have that? Okay, we have a couple. Mistreated workers are costing employers 42% increase in the number of missed workdays, translating to $4.1 billion, or 5.5% of sickness absenteeism cost, just related to people not coming to work or not feeling comfortable coming to work. I'm going to go through a few slides that, of course, I adopted from another state. It was Pennsylvania, because I think Google is your best friend, okay? I just need to make sure I give credit where credit is due. We're going to define harassment. We're going to, for everyone to know that they have a right to work in a respectful environment. I'm going to go over the different types of harassment, understand what to do when harassment occurs, especially if you're our supervisors, your responsibilities, and protecting yourself. Harassment is unwelcome conduct based on race, color, religion, sex, including pregnancy, national origin, age, and I fit this age now, disability, or genetic information. Harassment becomes unlawful where enduring the offensive behavior becomes a condition of continued employment. So we're not just talking about a one-time, you heard some gossip here or there. The conduct is severe or pervasive enough to create a work environment that a reasonable person would consider intimidating, hostile, or abusive. We know this, but a hostile work environment serves no good purpose. The prevention and elimination of harassment is everyone's responsibility. And don't become the next news story or worse, the next court investigation, which is the new thing. Everything now needs an investigation, and I'm just going to tell you those are probably not fun either. Recent research conducted by the Workplace Bullying Institute a few years ago shows that bullying permeates all industries with a high number of cases reported in education, healthcare, and the public sector. And so that's us. And probably it has to do a little bit with power because, elected officials have a lot of power. Types of sexual harassment include quid pro quo harassment, which is, you do something for me and I'll do something for you. Hostile work environment, bullying in the workplace, and then third-party harassment, where the harassment isn't done directly to you, but is done to affect you. Sexual harassment is defined a little differently, and that is unwelcome, unwanted, or offensive sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, and other verbal or physical conduct of a sexual nature when submission to the conduct is made either explicitly or implicitly a term of condition of the individual's employment. The conduct is unwelcome or unwanted or offensive and has the purpose or effect of unreasonably interfering with an individual's work performance or creating an intimidating, hostile, or offensive work environment. Some say, how can this happen? Or how can someone allow this to happen to themselves? And we have to understand that there are many dynamics involved. The person's need for their job, therefore they're not willing to make waves. The person falsely feeling they may have instigated the contact when in truth they did not. A failure or refusal to acknowledge there are predators in every walk of life. So for those people that have really strong personalities that said, this would never happen to me, those last statements are for you because you just have no idea what environment or what position each person is in when these things happen. Examples of quid pro quo harassment is a supervisor telling a subordinate employee that if he or she accompanies the supervisor for a weekend getaway, the supervisor might be able to arrange for some paid time off for the employee or look into a promotion for that employee. Another example is a person in authority threatening to discredit a subordinate employee if they won't attend a party with them after work. Both of these are just, prime examples of, to me, obvious quid pro quo, but I'm a pretty direct person, so. Hostile work environment. This is actually the most common, of course. Hostile work environment is created by a boss or a coworkers whose actions, communications, or behavior make doing your job impossible or very hard. This means that the behavior altered the terms of conditions and or reasonable expectation of a comfortable work environment for your employees. Additionally, the behavior, actions, or communications must be discriminatory in nature. So if somebody it's too hot in your workplace or it's too cold, but that's happening to everybody, it's probably not discrimination. Because we all think, because half the people when you go in there, half of them are too hot and half of them are too cold anyway, but no one's trying to pick on you. It's just, that's not discrimination. And so I think they can be created by various people, not just your boss. I mean, rumors, lies, false statements can all be used to the detrimental effect attacking a person's competence, integrity, and personal life. Examples of hostile work environment include degrading comments, sexual propositions, vulgar language, sexual touching, embarrassing jokes, sexual jokes, and bullying. What is bullying? What is a bullying? Well, it should be saying what is bullying. I was going to define a bully, and then I changed my mind. Bullying can be defined as repeated mistreatment of an employee by one or more employees. Abusive conduct that is threatening, humiliating, intimidating, work sabotage, or verbal abuse. Potential concerns include discrimination, harassment claims, workplace violence. It's a drain on morale, increased turnover, low productivity, and it does impact your bottom line, even though as government we don't have a bottom line. But our bottom line is the successful completion of our jobs in a timely manner. Here are just a few statistics for you. 35% of workers feel bullied at work. 16 suffered health problems as a result. 17 quit their jobs to escape the bullying, and most complaints are being bullied by a supervisor or a coworker or possibly against a customer or vendor. And I would say if you're as the county, you also have county council members, county commissioners, sheriffs, and other people coming into your office all the time, and so you have to be aware of how those people are treating your staff or you, because you could be permitting this environment by not doing something about that. I saw a lot of head nodding, so I'm just going to keep looking down. No, I'm kidding. Most bullying, this is very important because I look around and I see, a higher percentage of females in this room than males. So it's a misconception to think that most of this happens on the male side when we're talking about just the workplace bullying. Most of it is same-sex harassment behavior and not covered by laws or employer policies. So it's not like it could happen and somebody can just go, hey, they just did this to me. It's those little one-offs that just kind of happen, and most of it happens, most of it's female on female. And women make up 58% of the people that are bullying, and half of all reporting bullying is women on women. It's called status-blind harassment, and it's psychological violence, often misclassified as personality clashes. How often do you often say, our personalities don't click. So that doesn't give you an excuse to do something different for that employee than other employees that your personality does click with. And so you just have to be aware of exactly how you're treating your employees, because consistency is going to be your best friend. Among the the most common examples, I want to read these, of bullying is falsely accused of a mistake you didn't make. 45% of people say this is how they were bullied. Ignored, or comments that you made were either dismissed or not acknowledged. Constantly criticized by boss or coworkers. Use different standards and policies for you than other workers. And so immediately they're going to see this difference and they're going to feel bullied. You were gossiped about. Okay, now I just have a little something to say. If you were the boss, please plan on getting gossiped about. I mean, that is a thing that we should all expect. It's good for us if we don't hear it, but please know that it is happening. Every employee out there talks about their boss, and so it's great if you can just try to ignore it if you happen to hear it. Hopefully it doesn't happen at the workplace, and if it becomes a problem, obviously if they're trying to undermine you, that's different, but everybody complains about their boss, and so but it's if you're gossiping about somebody else, or if you realize there's a group of people gossiping about another person, is where you really need to be paying attention to what's going on in your environment. Belittling comments were made about your work during meetings in front of other people. Someone didn't perform certain duties which negatively impacted your work. You were yelled at by the boss in front of other coworkers, and purposely excluded from projects or meeting. Notice I said purposely, because it's one thing for a boss to think, you know what, they're so busy, they don't need that going on right now. They can actually concentrate on other duties, versus your boss saying, you know what, this is really important and I don't want them to have the opportunity to be a part of it, so I'm going to exclude them. And I would say that's why what I talk about in a little bit, and I'm going to check my time, but it's why it's really important to be communicating, because you never know what that other person's intentions are until you actually have an opportunity to confront them. All right, so third-party harassment is this behavior not found offensive by some employees can facilitate an offensive environment for other employees. An example, a group of employees talking about each other's sex lives in the presence of another person who feels very uncomfortable about such discussions. What to do? Um, you know, any employee believing they have been subjected to discrimination, including yourselves, workplace harassment or sexual harassment, should report that behavior to their immediate supervisor, another member of management, or the agency human resource section. If there is a policy, check for guidance. Obviously, if any of those options is the accused, pick another option. I mean, we're not trying to say go to the person that is bullying you or sexually harassing you, but you can make your complaint verbally or in writing. The important thing is to just report it. Why is it important for employees to report discrimination, workplace harassment, and sexual harassment? Employees can be hurt emotionally. Productivity can go down, absenteeism can go up, the work of the agency is going to be jeopardized, and employees will be fearful of others, and your workplace morale will be reduced. Let me go back. All right, why do employees hesitate to report discrimination, workplace harassment, and sexual harassment? Well, they might lose their job. They're worried about being retaliated against. They're afraid of getting someone into trouble. They're afraid of disrupting the workplace because, believe me, when an investigation starts, even though it's supposed to be silent and everything, it's kind of like the elephant in the room. Fear of being embarrassed and fear of not being believed. Fear seems to be one of the apparent reasons or feelings of why victims oftentimes don't come forward. And still, continuing on what to do, actions that can be taken if the harassment if you're being harassed. One, be assertive. At first, try to minimize the time spent around the bully and ignore any bullying behavior. Take things to email so you can track and keep a record of the interactions with them, and try to have others around you when talking to them face to face. But sometimes enough is enough, and you need to confront them. Explain how the negative treatment makes you feel, and ask them to stop. Sometimes perpetrators are not aware of the effect of their actions have, and sometimes it's just a miscommunication. Half of the people that that are confronted stop the behavior. So first of all, only half of the victims confront their bullies or perpetrators, but half of those that are confronted, the behavior does stop. Take notes. Document interactions between the bully. Keep these notes in a private place, not on a shared drive, and use them if you need to show the bullying pattern to a third party, such as your HR. I mean, hopefully you won't have to, but just in case you do, it's nice to have that checked. Check with others to see if they've noticed anything unusual or wrong, or tell friends that you trust your perception of this, just to make sure that you aren't missing something, that you aren't being overly sensitive to the situation. And so, because that can happen as well, and seek appropriate counseling or a support system. What to do if the harassment continues? Tell someone, file a complaint, file a civil or criminal charge, or consider writing a letter. If you are a supervisor, it's important for you to set an example of respectful workplace behavior. So have clear expectations that discrimination, workplace harassment, and sexual harassment are not tolerated. Have a clear mechanism for reporting, including the ability to report to another member of management should the supervisor be the accused, and take immediate steps to stop inappropriate behavior or conduct if it occurs or reported. So if you're walking by and you notice a group of people gossiping, don't ignore it. Just stop it. But then if you're prone to gossiping, then you probably need to have a bigger office meeting and just talk about, hey, you know what? I've been doing this, but it's not good for the office, so we're all just going to try to keep that out of this office. And I know it's hard to do, but it's really important, especially I feel like there's a heightened awareness out there of harassment, and this is honestly for your protection. Guard against retaliation. Definitely, if somebody has a complaint, make sure that you are not retaliating against them. Also, make sure that if they report to another person, that their supervisor isn't going to retaliate against them. Handle all your investigations discreetly and confidentially, and be sensitive to the feelings of all involved. It's not easy being I mean, we just saw with the Kavanaugh trials, it's not easy being the complainant or the accused or anyone participating in that process. It's very, very emotional for everybody. Know your policy on sexual harassment. If you don't have one, work with your county commissioners to develop one. And if you're one of those auditors that are going out, I'm really sorry, just at least bring it up in a conversation because it's important that we have this. And I'm kind of laughing because as county auditors, how many of you guys have the HR function in your office? Just raise your hands. Okay, that's a lot. That's over half. And so, you know, when we talk about using the HR policy, reporting things to HR, now that is you. So you have an extra responsibility to make sure you guys are ready to handle this, not only for your office, but possibly county-wide. And that's a big responsibility. But I think, I mean, such a time as this, I mean, Indiana's going through with Attorney General Curtis Hill. The report just released back and didn't find anything conclusive, but had 25 pages of what happened that night, and the list goes on and on. Now 4 people are suing him outside of the criminal process. And so it's a big deal. More guidelines for your supervisor are just keeping your lines of communication open, act immediately if you suspect harassment, and accurately document suspected incidents. Document the investigation process, as this may serve to protect you in the event of a lawsuit by demonstrating that the employer took affirmative steps in responding to the allegations and remedy any abuse. Report concerns or complaints to the appropriate department. You know, honestly, that's going to be you guys a lot. So you're going to have your county attorney or another option to go to look for help on this. All right. Comprehensive training should be provided to employees and supervisors on the danger of bullying, and they include interactive and hypothetical situations, instructions on identifying bullying conduct. I think additionally, I've listed 4 bullet points that are also options for you guys to do. I think you're going to have to talk to your commissioners about providing some kind of county-wide training to your managers and supervisors. Protect yourself. Keep your hands to yourself. Don't talk about sex on the job. Never mix social life with job-related discussions. And keep any compliments casual and fairly impersonal. So, you know, depending on your age, this gets a little easier with time, right? But I think it's important to talk about. Avoid jokes, words, phrases, or gestures with sexual meaning. Respect a person's personal space, and do not respond to seductive behavior. Respectful behavior facilitates more productive employees. I know that was a quick, and I'm not a professional sexual harassment trainer, but I did want to at least just highlight these things and keep it on the radar and basically push a little responsibility on you guys as office holders to make sure that you are aware of this and how important it is to address things that come up, even the little things. With that, I just want to say thank you. It's been fun, and I hope you have a great conference, and we'll be here all day if you guys have any questions. And give Bob a hard time, okay? Is he still